My dear friends, I think we've all reached a point in our crafting journeys where we've looked at a picture that we're wanting to stick down and we just think, I don't know how I'm going to do it. So I'm talking specifically about things that actually have very, very delicate little areas, like this little dragonfly's feelers and legs and tail. They're really delicate. Or if I was to finish cutting out this flower and remove all this white background, I'd have such thin stems there. And even on this little picture with the cat, if I want to remove everything back to where the outline is there, it's going to be very thin and fragile. So what are we going to do to glue it down? Quite often if you use glue sticks, they don't always stick permanently. They do tend to lift in time. Not all brands, but quite a lot of them. And a wet glue is going to be very difficult to apply to this. So let me show you what I have as a solution. It works so well for me, and I hope it's going to do the same for you. So I'm going to quickly just cut out the white areas of these particular images, and I'll be back in a second. So now I have fussy cut out some of my images, and I have also taken just a little bit of the Distress ink vintage photo, just to do a small little bit of shadowing around the outline edges. You might be able to see it a bit more clearly on this one that has a darker image, just to highlight the edges. I find that that little shadow just always anchors a design. So my next step now is to grab a plastic sleeve, and once you've got a plastic sleeve, just to use some of your glue. Now I'm using Elmer's glue here. I like the consistency of this. What you're looking for in the glue is something that is fairly liquid and evenly creamy. Now what does evenly creamy mean? Sometimes you get a glue that is quite thick and goopy, and that glue in itself can actually make things a little bit tricky to work with, because your instinct would be to dilute the glue with a little bit of water, but that could be problematic. So any kind of glue that you're using needs to have this kind of even creaminess. Things that come to mind would be like a Mod Podge, an Elmer's glue. It might be a gel medium of some sort, but just check that consistency. You don't want to be adding water at this stage. I haven't got any purpose in mind for these things that I'm making. It's more just to demonstrate to you. That's why I've got very plain backgrounds that I'm working on. And all I'm going to do now is grab this little kitty by the ears, press it down into the glue that's on my plastic sleeve, and then lift that up gently and press the other side down. You can also just drag it through the glue, which means that on the other side you've got a nice smooth even coat. And now I'm going to just take my little kitten and just lay this down very gently like that. And you can see that where I've got this long thin piece of wool, that I'm not having that normal seepage of glue coming through from the underneath side. You do want to make sure that everything that you have put down is in contact, but if you have a look at that, it lies down pretty easily with very little seepage. And I think that's the thing that is the hardest to overcome, is that seepage of wet glue underneath an image if you have got something that's really delicate. Let's move on now and tackle this one, where the image is slightly larger and it has a lot more little tiny bits. So I'm just going to extend my glue. Now it's quite thin. The other thing that's really nice about this is that once you've actually done all your gluing, if you just leave this to dry, it will peel off as a sheet. So I'm just going to take section by section and pop that into the glue, lifting it up each time. And I'm able to make sure in this way that I've actually got enough glue on either side. I do have a towel just to my right here, and I am from time to time wiping my fingers on that so that I'm not having sticky fingers on the surface. Now if I take my piece of paper, my card, and I just gently line up the base, the glue is sticking to my hand, so that's good. And I can manipulate this. You could of course use tweezers if you wanted to, just to gently position that. Use the side of my hand just to press it down so that's in contact. But if you have a look at that close up, you will see that there's no glue seepage. Everything's in contact with the card underneath, and that has actually dried down really nicely. I'm delighted with this result. Let me just do one more for you. So this is not as complicated as the other, but nevertheless it's the same sort of thing where I feel I would rather have some liquid glue rather than a glue stick. So again, I'm just using one corner to hold, laying it in the glue, turning it around and pulling it up. Make sure that you get right to the corners. And then again, no purpose in mind for these. I'll probably use them in a journal at some stage, but let's put this one this way so it could be a journaling card. Use the back of your hand. You might want to use a brayer if you've got one. And there you have it. Very, very easily done. Nice and neat. No glue seepage, and this is glue is going to hold and your image is not going to go anywhere. So just leave this to dry now and your glue will peel off that, and you'll be able to continue using your plastic sleeve over and over again. I do have these other cute little cards that I just thought I'd show you quickly. These are little paint swatches that I picked up, and they just have this little window, and I just thought that they would be so lovely with a few little images on. So I have these little ones that I had already cut out of little Peter Rabbit. We always know he's up to mischief. And I had a look at these little windows and thought to myself how perfect it would be to make it almost as though he was outside Mr. McGregor's house, so that this could be a little window. So again, I'm just taking this as a more solid image, and I'm just going to press that down onto this piece of card. They're already cut, they're already coloured. What more can you ask for that? And if I had to make a nice little scene there, put maybe some acetate behind with the pictures of some shelves or something, that could be quite a nice little journaling card. Anyway, I hope this helps you, and that you find that you are able to manage some of these more delicate pieces of glue work like these, where you've got very, very thin areas. Leave it to dry. It might buckle the paper a little bit. It will dry clear, and it will flatten out once it's dry. Thanks for joining me. If you've enjoyed this video, please give me a like and consider subscribing to my channel. Bye for now.